No, we love pizza and
really
politics.
Also, Pizza and Politics is currently running long. Thus, students sent
Who, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Why did they do
He
that?
sent it 2 minutes ago. So
I thought everyone should have left Pizza and Politics.
I would.
Out of respect for all of the guests.
But I didn't already have my plan.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, Karen, you agree. I would have gone to the basement. No doubt in my mind. Pizza and Politics. We be on this. They're
But seriously, like the rest of the You're not even debating it.
You're not even debating it.
I don't want
You said we're 30.
I was pretty sure I think it's
From next week, but I
texted Noah. Have you ever on that?
Yeah.
Well, I
Target?
No. The only reason Jansen is not in college.
Yeah, I think it's okay, but it brings it up.
This is Target's new,
Okay. Because I was like,
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, I agree. I don't know how that works. I didn't know that people stopped saying it. It's been part of their one
Target. These shoes. Or Target.
You're very obsessed.
Target.
He is too. I didn't even know he was
Nice.
Yeah, luckily read these.
Wow.
I call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first item of business is roll call.
All right, good evening, guys. Adams. Here. Akers. Here. Albert. Here. Anders. Here. Archer. Here. Arnaldi. Bergson.
Here.
Bogener.
Here.
Bolar. Bickerrood.
Here.
Cafera. Dines.
Here.
DeMoranville.
Here.
Dahl.
Here.
Elliott. Flores.
Here.
Fuller.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Garrity.
Here.
Randy.
Here.
Hendrickson.
Here.
Hyen.
Here.
Hughes.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Jewell.
Here.
Kallenberger.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Lonker.
Here.
Maples.
Here.
Markle.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
McDermott.
Here.
McIntyre.
Here.
Martins.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Needry.
Here.
Nordstrom.
Here.
Ogren.
Here.
Orth.
Here.
Penny. Papoon. Pitts.
Here.
Wait, is Papoon here?
Here.
There we go, sorry.
Penny is also here.
Got it. Sorry, that's sneeze, man. Pitts.
Here.
Pruitt.
Here.
Robsenpour.
Here.
Swanson.
Here.
Tedrow. Thomas. Tuttle.
Here.
Valdez.
Here.
Works.
Here.
Zwick.
Here.
Bothwell.
Here.
Carpenter.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Dahl.
Here.
Gammon.
Here.
Grover.
Here.
Hornung.
Here.
Horton.
Here.
Hoskins. Towen. Jabin.
Here.
Keekly. Karamali.
Here.
Karanha.
Here.
Kellerman.
Here.
King.
Here.
McAdam.
Here.
Mallenberg.
Here.
McCandless.
Here.
Meinhardt.
Here.
Peckart.
Here.
Pelton.
Here.
Putnam. Roth.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Salverino.
Here.
Schwa. Right?
Shao.
Shao. I'm gonna get it.
Here.
There we go. Chumlin.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here.
Whitmer.
Here.
Witzke. Zeke. All right, we've got 48 senators and 27 interns. Oh.
With that, we will begin first open period. Our first open period speaker is Maddie Ames, president of the Young Democrats.
Hi guys, as you said, my name is Madeline. I just wanted to come up and tell you guys before we jumped into everything that on Monday night we as in College Republicans and Young Democrats, are having a debate at 6:30 in the Cottonwood Room. I encourage everyone to come because it's going to be a great time, and we're going to be talking about tax reform, healthcare, and police reform. So just wanted to get that out there before everything got started. So, yeah.
With that, are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Fantastic. Hope to see you all there.
Our second first open period speaker is Aaliyah Mostrovsky, new youth and adult audiences specialist with the Kansas 4-H.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I'm here today to talk to you about an initiative that's coming out of the Provost's office. It's a presidential initiative that's called the One Family Intercultural Development Advancement Initiative. I'm a faculty member. I actually work for K-State Research and Extension as a 4-H specialist, a state specialist. How many people were in 4-H growing up? A lot of you? Okay. I wasn't, and so they chose me to be a new audiences specialist to help bring in more diversity to our program, and that goes for the whole diversity spectrum. So more LGBT youth, more youth with disabilities, more youth that come from ethnically diverse backgrounds, and so on. So, so that is my permanent assignment. But right now, I'm working in a temporary assignment for the next 6 months on this particular initiative. And the reason why we're calling it the One Family Initiative is because that is what we aspire as a community, but it's not where we are. So I thought it would be important to put that name front and center so that we are letting our faculty and students and staff know that we hear you, that we don't feel like we're all part of the family. So, you know, I'm using the word intercultural, and there are so many terms related to diversity: intercultural, diversity, inclusion, equity, equality, multicultural. And the reason why we chose intercultural is because it is basically the notion of being able to navigate difference. And shift our behavior and adapt our behavior and be more mindful about how we're navigating difference. So there are 3 parts to this initiative, and I'm going to invite you to participate in one or more of these 3 different parts. The first part is training all senior leadership. This started in August. We have not released a statement yet about it. I think it's actually going to come out next week. Earlier this week, the president released a statement about the Intercultural Development Inventory, which is a tool we're using to be able to better understand how we relate to difference as a K-State community. So the very first part of this initiative is training the provost staff, the cabinet, and the Council of Deans. And so they can have more intercultural tools in their toolkit. The second part of this initiative is going to places like Purdue, a land-grant university, number 5 in terms of research for public universities in the nation, and they have an intercultural learning initiative. They use the Intercultural Development Inventory. They have an intercultural learning center. We're also going to Michigan and to Boulder that have a student focus in terms of this intercultural initiative. And the third part is the community dialogue. Because it's really important that that it's not just from the top down or the bottom up, but that we meet somewhere in the middle and we work together on these types of things. So the community dialogue is created so that we can have the voice of many people on campus weighing in and talking about what this initiative could mean to them. This is an exploratory phase. We have 6 months. This is to help set the stage for the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer to be successful. Actually, both individuals in these 2 new diversity and inclusion positions, by having more knowledge about the community and the community voice and intercultural learning, I believe that they will be able to be a lot more successful in providing a welcoming and inclusive environment for all students. And this could not come at a better time. So as of right now, I have about 20 units on campus that have just kind of organically become part of this process and are engaged in community dialogues. A lot of diversity and inclusion committees are weighing in. I have Housing and Dining, their Equity Inclusion Committee. Human Capital Services is weighing in. Human Ecology, Vet Med, the Access Center, the College of Ed, a Veterans Committee, and we also have some student groups that we've invited as well, like BSU, the LGBTQ student groups, Imhotep, LULAC has been invited, and I'm also inviting you all to participate as well in some type of focus group. That being said, there are a lot of faculty and staff involved in this initiative. Dr. B. Stoney is the co-facilitator for all of the trainings for senior leadership, and she is also a co-facilitator for a lot of the community dialogues. How many of you know Dr. Stoney? Okay. So she is a big part of this. We also have 20 cultural advocates that are faculty and staff from all over K-State, from diverse backgrounds that are advocating for this initiative and are talking to their colleges and their units about it. So that being said, I'd like to open it up for any discussion if that is allowed.
Any questions for the speaker? Senator McIntyre.
For your trips to Boulder and Purdue, what kind of groups are you looking at taking, and what are you looking to gain from those experiences?
Okay, so for Boulder and Purdue, they have a different focus, and we want to look at their framework for these intercultural initiatives because we're finding that they're actually creating global citizens. They're infusing this in their classrooms. And so at Boulder, they have more of a student focus. It started within student affairs. At Purdue, it started more with faculty and staff, and now it's trickling down to students. So we wanted to take some models that would allow us to kind of merge faculty, staff, administrators, and students, if possible, and not just one group.
Further questions?
Yes.
Senator Cafera.
How long do you estimate the timeline is between now and when we would actually be implementing something similar to what they have at Purdue or other universities here at K-State?
That's a great question. 5 years ago, Purdue started this initiative, and they had 4 or 5 IDI qualified administrators to implement the IDI. They now have 100. 5 years later. And each person that's a qualified administrator has a service project of having 5 consults a semester. It's kind of like Strengths Quest in a way. Very similar to Strengths Quest, but it's about intercultural learning. So within the course of a semester, they can impact 500 people minimum. We have about 4 people on our campus right now that are qualified administrators. I know that the president is very interested in how this could impact students, particularly freshmen, all freshmen, the entire freshman class. So there are different phases to this project, one of which could be implementing this with first-year students. But first, we would need to create a critical mass of qualified administrators to then be able to administer this to students and have this within their classrooms. For example, leadership studies, I have many faculty that are already knocking on my door saying, I want to become a qualified administrator and I want this to be part of culture and context. So there's the desire. We're just looking at funding, you know, and how long this could take. But my hope would be that if this moves forward, that we could impact students more sooner rather than later, because that's why we're doing it.
Further questions? Director Kuchera.
Well, thanks for coming and sharing with us about this program. What is a way that we can reach out to you to become involved in this initiative?
Well, I've been working pretty closely with Tyndai, and we've been talking about the diversity and inclusion training that is typically offered for SGA. So I'm hoping that in doing a focus group or a community dialogue, we could talk about what your vision would be for intercultural learning and how that would fit with the training that needs to be offered, so that we eventually could put that into place in the near future. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I did want to just emphasize again, I am not an administrator. I'm a faculty member. I normally work with kids and faculty to create inclusive classrooms. I want to let you know that I've had really positive interactions with senior leadership, and they're committed to going through this training. And it takes time. Each time we meet, it's about 3 hours each time. And I'm really encouraged by their commitment, because it's not an easy thing to do. Because you kind of have to look at yourself and look at what you have to change. We all have blind spots. We all have things we need to work on. And I'm encouraged by their level of commitment.
Further questions? Follow-up, Director Kuchera?
One of the biggest challenges to instituting cultural competency training that's required for all students is getting faculty members on board. What are some of those challenges? What are some of the reservations that you've seen from faculty maybe when it comes to instituting some sort of this intercultural dialogue?
Incredibly enough, I am not seeing a lot of reservations, and this is actually not the same type of response that other universities have had. Like Boulder, their student groups are on board, their faculty are not. They kind of question the validity of the tool, and not everybody was in place to provide the right support. We have units on campus and senior leaders that are already engaged in this. I've already conducted over 200 intercultural development inventories over the past 2 years. So they see the benefit in it, their support there. Faculty are on board. It's kind of like going to the grocery store when you're hungry. You're just ready. It's like, what can I eat first? You know, I see people as saying, we needed this yesterday. This is what we need to move forward. These are the tools that we need, and it's for everybody. It's for everyone. It's not ethnocentric. It's not about one particular cultural community. It's for everyone, and it's a validated psychometric tool that's been given all over the world. There are hundreds of thousands of them. It's called the Intercultural Development Inventory. So that's one of many tools we could use, but this one has been adopted at K-State. Particularly within the College of Agriculture, Housing and Dining, and K-State Global Campus. So.
Further questions? Seeing none, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you so much.
With that, we've exhausted our list of open period speakers. Are there any further speakers for first open period? Intern Krancha. Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
All right, hello. So on Wednesday morning, I obviously woke up and saw the pictures of the car that was defaced by those derogatory and hateful and bigoted remarks. And my first instinct was to come to campus somewhere where I could meet with people and feel safe and comfortable and discuss what actions should be taken in order to correct this, behavior that has not only been occurring at K-State, but also in the Manhattan community. And I was met with a few people who were understanding and very open to how this is a problem and they want to address it and everything and fix it and be with me. Unfortunately, there was an individual in the room who not only disregarded my feelings, but they made a joke of it, really. They made a joke of the matter. And it was very appalling because they're involved in student government. So I urge you, sitting in this room, to think about how your words may impact others and how basically your position is to help students like me. There's not many students of color in this room, and I really, truly urge you, all of you, to do better. I don't blame you for the words that student said in the room, but I do strongly urge you to do better and to overpower their sort of rhetoric about this.
With that, are there any questions for this speaker? If not, thank you for coming up. Further speakers for first open period? Vice President Franklin.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. When I teach my class, I always say good evening or good afternoon, and I like for my students to respond, so that's very nice of you to do that. I think some of you know I live in Kansas City, and I got a call from Dr. Bosco several weeks ago that he'd had a conversation with the president, and with the several incidents we had, the president felt he needed someone close to him to help craft messages that might say to our community in some strong ways how deplorable those actions have been. So I was asked if I would come over for the next 60 days and advise the cabinet, the faculty, and of course you students about how we do that. I need you to understand, I'm sacrificing. I'm giving up my home, I'm giving up my kids, my life, my world, because I care about this institution. My work in Kansas City is to extend the work that Dr. Bosco does in getting you, your brothers and sisters, and your friends to K-State. Please understand that. Kansas City is our #1 market. We have taken the state. We're the #1 choice for Kansas graduates, and much of those come from Kansas City. How many of you graduates of Kansas City high schools? Just raise your hand. My expectation. I need your help, because yesterday I got numerous phone calls from colleagues in Kansas City saying, what the hell is going on in Manhattan? And my response going back is to try to allay feelings and emotions that this is a safe place. I got a hell of a job. I don't only have to do it here, but I got to go home and make principals and make corporate leaders and make people believe that Kansas State is the place to be. What I need you to understand, this should be one of your highest priorities. This should be one of your highest priorities. This should be one of your highest priorities. To preserve an institution that is serving you well and will continue to serve you well. We are letting a few people take our historic reputation and spoil it, drain it, kill it, just with a few acts. Now, come on. We don't all see the same way. You know, I see some looks on faces that indicate I'm not getting what you're saying, I'm not with you. But I'm saying to you, this institution is serving each one of you. You will leave here, you will go to work, you will do some extraordinary things. I have a great opportunity in Kansas City. I've served on the Google task force. Kansas City is getting ready to open a Google House. Every appliance in the Google House will be internet connected. You talk about artificial intelligence. I don't think we've begun to understand where that's going. Friends, that's your world. Amazon is putting 2 plants in Kansas City. We're having conversations about how we move our manned aerial space. We call it drone, but we can't use that term. How do we move it from Salina to Kansas City? Because Amazon is trying to figure out, because our airport is away from their facilities, how to use drones to deliver packages. Kansas City is an extraordinary market, extraordinary. There's conversations about how we become Silicon Prairie, how we take Cerner and all the stuff that's going on there. Friends, I want you to be a part of that. But I also want people who are in high schools to be a part of that, to come here, get this good education, and go be a part of changing America, changing the landscape, changing how we live, how we work, how we play, how we do things. I want people to be a part of that. The only way we're going to do that is to preserve our reputation, preserve who we are, preserve where we've been. Do you begin to understand? This will impact our ability to recruit football players. You want a winning football program. This will impact our ability to recruit basketball players. Athletes of all stripes impact that. And don't just think I'm talking about impacting black families, black athletes. You got to understand. Some of my calls came from white people. Said, I'm not putting my child in a racist institution. This is all ours. Friends, this is all ours. This work is all ours. We all have to take a role in it. So whatever you're asked to do, come on, let's do it. I was in a room last night with the Black Student Union. I've listened to students on this campus talk about feeling alone. Students who come from Kansas City, Missouri, who come from neighborhoods where They are primarily the only African American. They may go to an African American church, go to an African American grocery store, African American high school, come here. They're the only in their department. They have a conversation about those letters, KKK, and their classmates laugh. I get it. I know that some of you don't even understand how hurtful KKK is. I get that. But friends, can we sit down and just have a conversation and I help you understand what those words mean, what those letters mean? Can we just have a real good conversation so that I educate you? The past 2 weeks I've been at Bishop Miege, St. James Academy, St. Teresa's, because the Catholic high schools are saying, we got to help make sure our kids understand. Kansas City, Kansas, and I'm doing work in Shawnee Mission, helping them develop a program where they educate students about the past, about our history, and about our future. My brothers, my sisters, that's how I call you, because we're family. Don't let our reputation be sullied. Don't let that happen to us. You here in your community, in your sorority, in your fraternity, the N-word. Don't smile at me and act as if you're my friend if you don't go back to your house, if you don't go back to your floor and go back to your room and check it. You got to have the courage to check it and say, no, 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 we don't use that here. And begin to infiltrate our community, because I can't be everywhere. I'm not going to hear. And you guys are here. I know you're hearing stuff. And so let's go a little deeper. We may have people in our community who are recruiting, people in an alt-right mindset to do things. If that's true, and they're your friends, have the courage to call me. Have the courage to have a conversation. Because friends, we don't need this to continue. We just don't need it. We need to stop. Take a chill pill, just stop, slow down. Will you embrace your university? Embrace the place that's giving you, that's there for you. And let's figure out how we move forward. I'm going to be here until the end of the semester. I have a number of projects to work on. I'll sit down with you. I'll come to your fraternity, your sorority. I'll even come to your faith group. Faith has been my underpinning. I rely on my faith. My faith gets me through periods like this. I'm not seeing even the faith community stand with students and stand with racism and stand with evil. And so before I came here, I stopped to some of the groups and I said, I need you to stand with me. I'm getting with Father Gale at St. Isidore. Sorry, I just couldn't get that. He and I are going to have a conversation next week. I need Catholics to stand up and just don't give lip service to social justice. Come on, we got to live social justice. We got to practice this. So I'm open to ideas. I'm open to you helping me figure out how to do this. And my closing statement, I don't mind General Myers, Dr. Bosco, Provost, Dr. Carlin. I don't mind them having conversations. But you know what? When I was here, I wouldn't have them have conversations about how to change my community. I told them today, this feels like top down. Why should the administration be saying what they want to do to you and for you? You should be saying, well, wait a minute, time out. We want to be a part of this. No, we don't want to be a part of it. We want to lead it. Friends, I told some of you, I was here when I had kick-ass afro. You can't tell, I know. I know, I picked it out every morning. We shut down the campus system one day. You know how you shut down the system? You get everybody to flush the toilet at 12:01 on that day, and you shut down the water system. We got attention when we wanted stuff. We had courage. What can they do? What was McCain or what was Ocker going to do to me? Put me out? Lawsuit, baby. Just because I wanted to protest? You weren't listening to me? We wanted a student evaluation for our teachers? And you're going to tell me I can't evaluate my teachers and I'm paying? I climbed on top of the Vice President for Academic Affairs' desk and I cussed him out. And we got a student evaluation for our faculty. We don't do that now. Some of you are so afraid to raise your hand up, make a statement, and I'm saying, whoa, 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 where are the students? Where are my partners? Where are my folks who would say, wait a minute, time out. This is not my campus, I don't want this like this. I don't want the president telling me what I'm gonna do. Come on, step into this. Have some courage. Have a fight, because you're gonna go to a corporation that's changing. And let us teach you how to go work with men and women who don't want to change Cerner, who don't want to change Google, but here comes this kid off of K-State campus, and they'll say to you, you're not even wet behind the ears, but you come in and you're fresh, and you know how to go in and make change. We can help you with that. That's what this is all about, teaching you how to drive change when you leave here, because those companies will be looking for change agents. Friends, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here to make my campus, my community, the hilltop that it's been. And I want it to survive, and I want it to be strong. And I don't want our enrollment to continue to go down. But I'm concerned. I'm even so concerned because I have at least 3 African-American women whose parents are saying, if you don't do something, I'll come get them tomorrow. And I said to Dr. Bosco, we think we have an enrollment decline now. We don't figure out how to get this done. We could lose some more. And what will that do to you? Who will pay for not having students in those seats? You'll pay for that. Who will pay if we don't have the athletes we want? We'll pay for that. Friends, we got to step into it. We got to be strong. We got to say, this campus is mine. I'm taking it back. I'd love for you guys to have a Take Back My Campus night. And you have candles, and you have protests, and you have signs, and you say, we're going to protest my campus back. We want our campus back. Come on. Be creative. Go step into it. General Myers isn't here. He's in Washington. He's going around the country. He's not going to step in and say, you can't do it. Are you kidding me? Bosco will probably help you plan it. You know that. I love you guys. I love my campus. If I can help in any way, you call me. Let's get this done. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Would you be interested to stand for questions?
I will.
Awesome. With that, are there any questions for Vice President Franklin? Maddie, President Ames, sorry.
It's okay. I just had a question. I was wondering if you were staying for the entirety of the meeting so that some of us could meet with you afterwards, possibly.
You talk about sacrifice. I told Dr. Bosco today, I have not worked this hard since I was Dean of Students in the 90s. I was here for the BSU meeting last night till about 10. I'll be here. What else?
Further questions?
Yeah.
Director Kuchera.
What is the best way to contact or engage?
I have my card, and we can certainly share that. But I'm Bernard F. at ksu.edu. Bernard F. at ksu.edu. I'm really willing, with President Jack's assistance, for us to even go visit some campuses. I've done some research, and there are some campuses that have really done this work. And so maybe we should go visit some if you're interested. You know, let's find some change and let's go talk to other campuses about how they've done this work. So I'm open. What other questions? Yes?
Lacey Pitts, or Senator Pitts.
Vice President Franklin, last night I attended the BSU meeting, and something one of the students said really struck a chord with me, and they said, you know, as Black students, we aren't always heard, but they listen to you guys. And that was speaking to Student Senate and speaking to white students, you know, really just putting us in a group and saying, you know, you guys need to speak for us too. They're like, we're speaking, but we need you to speak for us. So, you know, we love listening to them, and we've gone to meetings and hearings listening. But what can our next step be as Student Senate? You know, like, what does that look like for us to do right now to combat this racism and to be a voice for BSU and all the other students who feel threatened?
Thank you for that question. It's a wonderful question. I received a copy of an email that, and I'll just call him, Dean DeNoble sent to the College of Architecture. Dean DeNoble graduated from Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock, Arkansas Central High School was the high school that was desegregated, or they had a segregation. African-American woman came to that school. He was there. He gets this. And so he sent to his department the best language, the best support about how we put our arms around kids who are really suffering. I think one of the ways we could do it, all of us have African-American, Latino, international friends, all of us do. This doesn't just impact African-Americans. All people of color in some ways have been affected by what they saw. One suggestion I have is for you to go reach out and just listen. Try to be empathetic. So we met yesterday with the dean's staff, because sometimes people they don't really understand what three simple letters like KKK means, or blackface, and I get it, I understand that. But to listen to a student describe her pain was enough for them to go to the dean to say, we need to do something. And so my advice is to, how do we wrap our arms around people who are really hurting? I mean, really hurting. And I can't do it all, and I've tried. I've taken so many kids to breakfast and to lunch. I have appointments next week. I'm one person. But the impact is when a Caucasian person sits, just sit. You might say to yourself, I don't know what to say. That's the best thing to do, is not say anything. It's just listen. You understand the word catharsis? Catharsis is when I pour out of my soul my pain. That's very healing for me to pour it out. But sometimes when we sit with people, we hear things and we think it's directed at us. And when African Americans or Latinos say something, it's not directed at you. They're just saying, I'm in pain, and all I want you to do is to listen to my pain. And so one of the pieces on our agenda today was, how do we get residence hall directors, department heads, deans to send letters to all their staff to say, let's wrap our arms around our kids. Let's be a family. Let's just talk about being a family. Let's be a family. So do that. When you go, where do you live?
In my sorority.
Okay, so you live in the house, you don't live?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, if you were a freshman and you lived in Ford, but you were at 85 Pledge, if we still use that term, I don't know where we're using it.
New member.
Then Ford, in Derby, you could sit down, instead of sitting with your friends, you sit at another table. You understand what I'm saying? We go figure out how to wrap our arms around hurting people. Good question. Hope I answered.
Time. Is there a motion to extend time? Speaker Pro Tempore Magnani.
We extend the question time by 10 minutes.
It's moved and seconded to extend by 10 minutes. If there are no objections, there's 10 more minutes. Are there further questions? If not, oh, yes.
Hi. First of all, I'm a junior in sociology and anthropology. You may have already said this, but what specific actions are you planning on taking for the next couple of weeks or so until the end of the semester that you really hope you'll see some positive response to?
Well, a lot has already started. My role is to really solidify some things and help the new vice presidents who are being interviewed now come in, hit the ground running, and make some progress. We don't need these two people to come in and take a whole year to learn this community. So a lot of my work right now is transition work, How do I create an upload plan so that I upload people into this community so they can go get things done? We're having conversations about a multicultural building. Who are those alumni or corporations who may pledge significant dollars, because we're going to need some money. I'm going to make a list of who those potential donors are so that they can go meet them. Who are the key people on campus they need to meet? I'm going to do that. But we're also talking about, as the previous speaker said, what are courses and ways that we can have this conversation. And we're having all kinds of conversations about how we do that, so that it's not just classroom, it's not just an online program, but leadership studies gets involved in it. What we call a race and ethnic studies? What's it called? All of those departments, sociology, psychology, all of us are involved in figuring out how we take language and move people to think in a different way. So my agenda is broad and big. I'm trying to help athletics, because athletics is feeling a little bit of rub, you know, with folks saying, whoa, wait a minute, I need our football team to stay strong. You know what I mean? So my work is broad. It's really broad. Yeah.
Further questions?
Sorry, so just
yeah, absolutely.
One more comment. I'm just a student. I'm not
just a student.
Yeah, I'm just a student. I'm not.
I don't like that. No, just. I'm a student.
I am a student.
Good.
Definitely one thing that I really like that you said is I want to take this past just taking classes and like online courses like the ASAP.
Right.
In every other group discussion that I've had with other organizations, a majority of people that I've talked to have found that they think that the online courses and just sometimes classes, like, they don't do enough. It's basically you just memorize the information just for a grade. And for some people, you know what, that's fine. They're okay with that. But I'm really glad that you mentioned taking it further, because I definitely don't think that just taking a class or just doing ASAP.
Yeah, we even talked today about how do we turn Anderson's Law into a learning lab, and we get small groups on the line, and people can go and mix and talk in different ways. See, part of it is we just need to learn how to talk, how to have a conversation, how to break through barriers so that we get people engaged in some new and fresh ways. And so I think you'll see the remainder of this semester, and certainly into spring semester, Kansas State University looking a little different and sounding a little different than we've been. We have to do it. And we're going to be a leader in it. We're looking at some of the East Coast schools who've done a little bit more of this, but we're tweaking it to make it our own. But we got to do this. We got to do this work. So you'll see some things.
I'm excited to see it.
Further questions? Senator Cafera.
First of all, thank you very much for coming to speak with us. I appreciate that. We as senators for K-State, we have a unique opportunity, unique position of power to have an influence over how the university behaves and how these types of issues can be addressed. And as you mentioned earlier, there is a big difference between just saying stuff about these issues and discussing them and actually taking action. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts about what we as the Student Senate could do in leveraging discussion into actual action, in not just a generic form, but something a little bit more concrete that we can put into action right away.
Right. I would say, and I've said this, and I've said it sadly, I think we've entered a new space in our country. There probably will be another incident. And I even said to Jack, President Jack, I think it's going to come in here. I think it's going to be in a fraternity or sorority or in a residence hall. People feel emboldened. They feel, what can they say to me if I do something? I think we're going to have to be a little bit more vigilant. I think we're going to have to be smarter. I think we have to recognize that even this body, You could have somebody stand up in this body and make some extremely racist statements and do some extremely damaging things. We need to be prepared for that. And then what's our response? What are you all going to do when that happens? We can't take a month to say, well, we're going to investigate. Come on. We're going to have a plan. What does that look like? So my suggestion, let me say if the next situation happens. What if student government took the lead? What if we don't wait for BSU to have a meeting? What if student government had the meeting? And you call it an all-university student meeting, a student rally, on the lawn, or in this building, or somewhere. You take it. Because they shouldn't have to take it. You take it. Student government says, we're tired, we're sick, our reputation is being tarnished, we're going to take the lead. And you take it, you get speakers. I don't have the president, don't have the provost, you speak. And you say, I'm tired of this. You let CNN, you let ABC and CBS hear you. I think people are tired of listening to the administrators. They're waiting for you all to say, we're done. It's over. We're going to take back our university. So you take it. The next event, you take it. And have a hell of a day. And I'll be here. And I'll push you on with my afro. I'll bring my afro. And I'll push you. Because this is yours. We shouldn't wait for other groups to do it. This is yours. You take it. So good question. Thank you.
Further questions? Further questions? If not, thank you very much for coming today. Are there any further speakers for first open period? Yes. Please come forward and would you introduce yourself to us?
My name is Ayana Belk, and spoiler alert, I'm the person that Dr. Franklin was talking about. I'm an architecture student. I'm the only black architecture woman student that I've seen so far. Is anyone in the architecture program? Just you. Well, that's how I feel every day. I'm the only person in there that looks like me. Specifically in my studio, we have a group chat, and I shared the KKK picture. And the caption that I said was, I'm just gonna leave this here so you guys can understand what I have to go through and so you guys can understand what your classmates and your peers are up to. And no one said a word. No one spoke up except for the girl that is now my roommate. Like, it was like the day we started planning to move in, and I felt like she only said it because she didn't want me to be upset with her. So, basically, I just want to say to all of you guys who are in here, when you hear people talking about how things affect them, show some compassion. Don't leave them by themselves. Especially, when we see them every day. As an architecture student, I have to sit in this room with 17 white kids who don't give a fuck about me, to be honest. They don't. The next comment that was said in that group chat was, on the bright side, the history test grades are out. That's the first thing they said. Not, oh wow, this is terrible. I'm really sorry they have to go through this. I'm really sorry. That's not how I feel. No one said anything like that. So that was nice. So, in person, a little later when some black person called out the girl in the sorority group chat or something, they were talking about how unnecessary it was, how this isn't the place to talk about that. I heard about it and I said something to one of the girls that was in the group chat, so she knows that I knew. And she was like, yeah, it was really unnecessary for them to call her out in public. Like, that's not something that should have been said. Like, I just don't understand why people tend to downplay these instances. These things affect people. The thing with the car, he said, come outside and get hanged. That's a threat. That's serious. That was someone's house. That's real. This is all real shit, and people are not understanding it. So, I just want to say to Dr. Franklin, thank you so much, because I am the student that was in that room with the Dean's Administration of Architecture. I am the reason that that letter was sent out. I'm a real person. These things affect real people. Just know that.
With that, are there any questions for the speaker? Thank you so much for coming on. Oh, sorry. Chair Beckerud.
I just want to let you know that I stand with you.
Are there further speakers for first open period? Yep, come on up.
I wish someone would have told me I was going to speak in front of student government. I would have wore a suit like all of you are. Again, my name is Chris Butler. I'm a sociology, anthropology student here at K-State. I'm a junior. I'm sorry, I'm terrible thing. Dr. Franklin. Dr. Franklin. Okay. One thing that Dr. Franklin said that I think is very powerful, but I don't know how far it'll go, is that he wants student government to take the lead in, when instances like this happen. You guys should be the first one, not BSU, not Emotep, not anything like that. Quite honestly, as a student who's been here for about 7 semesters now, I don't know what you guys actually do. I know you guys, give fun. I was talking to Victor over there about, you guys pass things and you do X, Y, and Z, but I genuinely don't see anything come out of student government that really benefits me as a black male, or really just as a student. Maybe there are a lot. I think there's a miscommunication at some point. I don't know where, but understand that for an average student like myself, I don't see anything. I think that it would be amazing if student government would be the first to really tackle these super big issues. I think that if student government had their emergency meeting before BSU, that would have been powerful. I think that's something to learn from. I'm gonna be mean, I'm gonna say nicely, I don't see that coming from you guys, genuinely. It's something nice to talk about, something really good to say, something to think about, but I can totally see in the next week, whatever we talked about in this room will be something we talked about a week ago. So I urge you guys to, I don't know, try something. Maybe you are trying something. Maybe I'm just a very ignorant student who needs to open up his horizons. That's a very real possibility. But I ask that you guys really start doing some super real discussion at the student level, because whatever you guys are saying, I don't hear it. Whatever you guys are doing, I don't see it. So just my 2 cents as a student, not just a student, but as a student. Other than that, you guys look sharp. I'm sure you guys work really hard on whatever you do, and you all are students, and a lot of you probably work jobs full-time too, and I don't want to make it sound like I don't appreciate what you guys do, because I'm sure you guys do something. Just understand, I don't see it. And I guarantee you many students in minority don't see it. Thank you.
With that, are there any questions for the speaker? Senator Cafera.
I'd just like to say that I very much appreciate your candor and your honesty in saying that you don't really see an impact of what we do here, affecting the student body as a whole, or any underprivileged groups or minority groups. That's it's disheartening to hear, but I think it's an important thing for us to hear. So I would like to extend my hand on behalf of everyone else in supporting you and all the other students on this campus to make the connection between SJ, between this body, and all of the other students on campus, to make that stronger, to have our impact be greater than just passing resolutions and giving funding to student organizations and things like that, which are a large portion of what we do, and it is important, but it's very apparent that it's not enough. So thank you for coming to speak with us. Is there anything that anything that comes to mind that you specifically think would be very helpful for us to tackle as a legislative body we can get started on at this point in the semester?
Definitely one thing that comes to mind, I remember somebody earlier mentioned something about there's a debate coming. I think you mentioned there's a debate. I think a really cool thing would to have, like, I don't know if you guys, maybe you guys do this at the same time. Again, I don't know. I'm just a student. I mean, I'm a student. I don't know. I think a really important thing would just be having like Q&As kind of like this. Like I have so many questions that I want to ask you guys right now.
I just wanted to say that originally, in some of the planning, there was some talk about maybe having a discussion after the debate. With everything that's happened this week, I think if people just wanted to stay afterwards, after the debate, I would love to just facilitate a discussion, like actual real discussion amongst, two different parties. So just wanted to throw that out there that is definitely an option.
No, definitely. I think that's, yeah, I mean, I have so many questions. I mean, when I was a freshman, I was not great friends, but I got to know, at the time, the president and vice president, Joe Tink, and Andrew Herdig. I got to know them pretty well. We had lunch. I asked them questions. They really informed me. They made me want to be a part of SGA for a little bit. Then I didn't want to because I didn't feel like you guys did anything. not to really bash you guys, but that's genuinely how I feel. But I think just finding a way to have some discussion. I have so many questions that I want to ask. Like, how do you guys feel? Do you feel like there's more that you can do? Do you feel like you're doing everything you can? Do you need more ideas? Like, how open are you to hearing other students' suggestions? What can I do to make it so that there isn't such a disconnect between student government and a student? I don't know. I don't have a card so you guys can call me or anything like that, but.
Can you share with us your email?
My email? Okay, my email, it's my first name. It's Edwin Butler, EDWIN BUTLER, at ksu.edu. Yes, that is my email. And I mean, please email me. I love K-State. I'm here just because this is the only campus that I've ever visited that made me feel like it's a home, and quite honestly, it doesn't feel like home anymore. So, just something to ponder on. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Caucus Leader Pitts.
Edward, what do you do most Thursday nights?
Most Thursday nights?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm not singing with K-State's only all-male a cappella group, just homework, basically,
Well, how about you start coming to the Senate and holding us accountable?
I would love to.
This is your invite.
Sweet, thank you.
Yes.
I go every week, so you are definitely welcome to sit with me if you want to.
Definitely, yeah, thank you. Oh my goodness.
Caucus Leader Rostenpour.
This isn't a question, so you're gonna get Don't wear a suit.
And don't wear a suit. That's okay. Guys, I'm brutally honest. I feel like people who wear a suit all the time are like super fake. So I'm gonna have a video. I'll wear a suit when I need to like give an address, but I don't know. Thank you guys for letting me come up and talk. I was under the impression before the meeting started that I couldn't even say anything. I thought I'd get kicked out or something like that. But thank you. Please email me. I'm a very concerned student that really wants to learn more about what you guys do. Don't super spam me though. I'm still a student. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Any last questions? If not, thank you so much. Are there further speakers for first open period? If not, I guess that's my cue right there. Yes. Thank you. Awesome. Well, this has been a really sobering night tonight. It should be. It really should be. That stuff right there, absolutely deplorable. Should not be happening in Manhattan. Should not be happening at K-State. Should not be happening at all. With that, we're going to do something that's unprecedented tonight in Student Senate, something that has not been done, at least in my time, and not as long as I've been aware. We're going to take 15 minutes here for a quick breakout to kind of discuss what we think Student Senate can do moving forward. So we're going to break up into 12 groups. I've got 2 more speakers that want to speak before we break up. So we're going to let them speak, but I'm going to number you guys off before we let them speak. So with that, I would encourage everybody who's in the room tonight, whether you're involved in SGA, whether you're a student who's coming to join us tonight, whether you're a faculty member, if you want to be a part of these discussions, we'd love to have you join us. So with that, we're going to start counting. Would you like to be number one?
One. I have an assignment due at 10 o'clock.
I guess that's excusable. 2.
4.
6.
7.
8.
9.
10. 11.
12. 1. 2.
3, 4, 5,
6.
7. 8.
9.
10.
12.
1.
2.
3.
4.
5.
6.
7,
8.
9. 10. 11.
12. 1. 2. 3.
4.
5. 6. 7.
8. 9. 10. 11.
12. 1.
2.
3.
4.
5.
6,
7.
8,
9. 10. 11. 12. 1. 2.
3. 4.
5.
6. 7. 8.
9. 10.
11. 12.
1. 2. 3.
4.
5, 6,
7. 8. 9.
10.
11. 12.
1.
2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7.
8. 9. 10.
11. 12.
2.
3. 4.
Awesome. With that, does everybody remember their number? If not, ask the person next to you. Yep. 7. Awesome. With that, we're going to have 2 more speakers come up real quick. Make that 3 with Jack.
Hi guys. So I wanted to speak because everybody knows Tendai as the more optimistic, funny joke guy who is enjoying life. But also there's another side of Tendai who's black that when he walks out through those doors, there's another side of things that happen to me that you will never get to see because I cannot share with them because I just don't know who to share with them because I need to share with people who understand what I'm going through as an international, as a black student, as a minority, being thousands away from home where I know I have nobody who I can contact and tell them what I'm going through. I only have my dad, my mom, my brother, and my sister. Those are my number 1 people I contact. You know, when I came my freshman year, I want people to know that this is just not a recent thing. There have been many incidents that have happened since the beginning when I came to K-State. We had the Yik Yak incident that happened. And for those of you who don't know, it was an incident in relate to when Michael Brown got shot. BSU hosted a rally in the union, hands up, don't shoot. And people were saying negative stuff about black people, calling us monkeys, chimpanzees, and the list goes on. And every year there's been a racial incident, nooses, build a wall for our Latino brothers and sisters, my Muslim brothers and sisters being told to go back to their home countries because they're responsible for terrorism and all that kind of stuff. And it's really hard. And this is the first time I think you guys are getting to see this side of me because there's so much I go through, but I have to find the right people to share these stories with. And, you know, rest be assured, you know, this is one of the reasons why I got involved on campus, because I couldn't just stand back and watch this happen anymore, especially for my fellow international students and other marginalized groups, because I wanted to help out and find solutions and be on the offensive side because I love this university. Yeah, I thought it was Manhattan, New York, but but you know, that's what we go through. And this semester alone, there's so much we have gone that have happened, and it's just happening that I don't know when this is going to stop. And I feel bad because now I'm having to put so much effort into it because I feel guilty that if I graduate, I'm going to ask myself, what did really I do? I'm asking myself, like, as a senior who's graduating, what kind of place am I leaving, especially for our young freshman intern students? Like, what did I do all these years? And, you know, people, you've heard people saying, like, we need to do stuff to bring the community. People don't know. That's why I planned and I said we need to do SGA week because this was going to be very important to bring everybody. At the beginning of the semester, I did a presentation and I said, there are 3 things in caucus I think we need to follow and try to do. Recruitment and retention, and you guys now know how the numbers are like. Diversity, big one. I said we need a senator to focus that within their caucus. And number 3, advising. And that I sometimes wonder if we all had just done and gone with the plan, maybe not the best perfect plan. I wonder what kind of shoes we would be in today. So today, I'm grateful that we're having this opportunity to talk about things. But some of you, there's a point where I know some of you say you're busy, you ain't got enough time. But think of it from my lenses. I gotta worry about my school, what I'm gonna do after graduation, and I have to worry to make sure I'm comfortable in my own skin. Especially that I'm comfortable in my own school. I should be worrying about school and grades and what I wanna do after graduation. I can't be worrying about, me being a black student on this campus. So, moving forward, I hope tonight you've all been inspired to want to take action and listen to the wise words that Dr. Bernard Franklin and our guests tonight, what they've shared. Understand that we're in privileged positions to make a difference. And some of you, we are on such great student organizations like SAB and Student Foundation. We need to take that as well and go over there and make a difference in those. It shouldn't just be SGA, it should be those other places as well. And you know me, I'm always open to have a dialogue. So once again, I hope to see some of you more at SGA Week to plan this so that we can heal and bring all the students together. And hopefully, with those 3 ideas, I propose the caucus that you may start considering to take initiative on them. And with that, I'll pass it down to Jack. Joey.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Poon. For those of you that don't know, I attended the BSU meeting last night, and it was very eye-opening. I got to listen to hours of stories and feelings from not only the BSU and black students on campus, but members of the Manhattan community that are concerned. I mean, the members of the Manhattan community come to K-State and to us students to look for help. But I just wanted to say that as senators were elected to represent them. There's pretty low attendance from senators, I would say. Like 10, maybe 15 were there out of this whole group. And I know that, as a senator, we're elected to represent our constituents. I'm a white senator. I'm a member of a Greek organization. I know a lot of people had chapter last night if you're in a Greek organization. I can't think of anything that my chapter talked about last night, or probably any of your chapters, that could have been a fraction of as important as what these students are going through. Some of you probably had tests last night that you needed to study for. Some of these students didn't go to class because they're so scared. So just keep that in mind, where your priorities are. And as student leaders, you owe them your time and your ears to listen. Honestly, we should go far beyond that and take action, but at the very least, we owe them, the ability to listen. And so, yeah, I wrote notes, but I'm not doing well. And it needs to go beyond when bad stuff happens. I'm just as to blame as a lot of you are. I haven't been to a BSU meeting besides last night, an emergency meeting because of what happened. I'm not always the first to speak up when something needs to be said. And I'll promise that I'll get better about it, but we all need to get better about it. So when we break out from this meeting, take it seriously. Let's be leaders. Let's do something for K-State and for these students, because, it's becoming a university and a campus that I honestly don't want to affiliate myself with. So let's do something about that.
Well, Joey, you mentioned a lot of what I wanted to say, but I just wanted to set the stage as we move into this next portion. Looking back on previous efforts that some of you have taken, for those of you who have taken those efforts, who have opened your ears to students, and who have put down what you're doing to take action and represent those students and move our university forward, thank you. And to those who haven't, this is your wake-up call. This is when we start. You'll start right after this when we get into our discussions. Take it seriously. The future of our university depends on it.
All right. Did you have something more you wanted to say, Tendai? You can if you want.
So I want everybody, I know you can read the quote, but I'm going to say it loud so you can understand how hard it is and difficult to just hear and watch these when you wake up and watch something of yours vandalized. Die, you stupid nigga. Date your own kind. Fuck you, nigga. Die, boy. All niggas must die. Come outside to get hanged. And I can see the reaction in the room. It's really hard for y'all to hear this. But as the young lady who spoke here, they are real people. This is real. It's not a movie, it's real. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. With that, we will start splitting into small groups for about 15 to 20 minutes of discussion time. So if we could have, before you all start moving real quick, if we could have kind of the groups go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Just so everybody can figure out where their groups are, then feel free to disperse about the union. I have discussion questions to help guide your discussion tonight, so please send one person up here to get a couple of those sheets. Thank you. Thanks for doing that. All right. If you found your group, please make sure to come up, and we've got some discussion questions to guide your time tonight. Thanks for coming up. We'll figure it out.
So what are we gonna do? Go someplace or stay here? I haven't met you. I saw you last night. William. What are you making? Oh, yeah. They're offering in-state tuition.
Yeah.
Some of the best advice. I'm glad you did. Can I use you as a poster boy? It's like, here, we got one of yours. We got one. We got one. They're like, yeah, you just got one. Yeah. We got 100 of yours. Yeah.
Preach about case studies.
All right, what are we gonna do?
We got 3 discussion questions.
We gonna stay here or go someplace?
These, like, bring your couches right up there. It's easier to discuss or just.
Yeah, I bet someone's ready.
I'm sorry. I was actually
We got 3 discussion questions. The first one's based on your personal experience. Experiencing what is the campus climate, and what experiences have you heard from the student body?
But also, I think yeah, it's like kind of one of them has one of them has like 40 members. So I'm not like talking to somebody to be like attack on this issue, but I think that's important to realize that. It's not easy for the
I mean, I'm campus climate and safety manager, so I hear a lot about campus climate. I mean, it's when I came in, I knew it was going to be a hard job. There's so much. You don't know which angle to tackle. I mean, I work on racial issues, sexual assault, and just every new program that comes out, you don't know what's going to fire center interventions. Almost no one knows about it. We don't have cultural services. What do we do to make suicide? How do we roll those programs out where people know about them first? I mean, I've heard from student body like GSU, there's no counselor in racial issues. Why don't we have that? Why don't we have someone that they can talk to, the counseling services that's there for them, or someone there that can talk to someone that maybe is racist and talk them through that? Why believe those beliefs? Why do they?
I don't know. A lot of people are
why
when they say things and they don't agree with it, but it stops there. So I mean, I disagree with it. Try to engage in conversation with your friends, but like even then, that's not enough. I feel like it takes eye-opening things to kind of shape you into action, and I just kind of felt that way for me, but I mean, however many of us in the room that's not entirely representative of campus. I don't know how creating an eye-opening experience to shape all of you into action. Especially now, disagreeing with it and thinking that's wrong or not.
Is that the excuse of I wasn't and I think going off of that, something that really bothers me today is I realize that schools that happen so frequently, and it's just it was kind of just like like other people, like people say to me, I just realized that like that's my view. I don't
I mean, these events have significance, but how do you get those significance in relation to the other events that we have? And kind of bringing that back, just because I feel like the campus climate during this year and last year has been really worse. I mean, we got set up on cases in last year and the worst at the end of the year. And I mean, there's been more 4 or 5 events just within Christmas.
The Black Christmas was our first. Yeah, that was like 3 weeks in. Nothing really happened after that.
Yeah, and it's just, how do we, when the frequency occurs, how do we keep the majority of kind of working ways to place it rather than being just
So you also. I think one of the questions I have. So that's I struggle understanding. Even a lot of people I'm on the executive now. Is that but as a Senate, as a legislative chamber, I know a lot of people know this funding. And so that's why is that while there are laws ban what we're doing, is that on the social contract is that we really shouldn't have to figure out and we do. So I just I understand like we should be doing more, but every time that's specific. How not really feel.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was pointed out and iterated that emergency should have been posted by SGA, not me. I know, we failed it, like, so that's something, you know, when something like that happens, SGA should step up and say, we're going to do this, come to this meeting, you guys should body, start there. I mean, I didn't think about most, I heard about this when my question is, right, I mean, that should be my job. Yeah. How do you feel? Stuff like that. Yeah, I'm glad they're pushing that out. What's considered? I really like the outside. I really like the PennDOT with regards to offices. So like senators for each college get to address issues regarding student diversity within their college. So then we're technically working separately but together because we're addressing the issue in each college. So trying to I don't know, address it within the student body.
Just to face to a name and make sure that they're interested in like their name. We did it as a caucus, we were more of a guidelines of the industry, I think, to be able to put this diversity thread.
Sometimes there's something that's simple making sure you know that you're how I feel.
Is that so?
I mean, it's not enough, but it's a start. You know, when to start, where to start. Like other trainees that, you know, just tell them that you want to listen to them. Don't take any positions. We're here for you. Come talk to me. Tell us how you feel.
I think something just kind of like it's about what we can do. I think sometimes people look at the issue and just like, this isn't passing the bill. This is changing the culture. And I don't know. Kind of going off that. I mean, is it really the first step to changing that just listening? Because I feel like we need to hear people are the proper participants to this, and how do you take it all the way to there and bring it to it?
I think it's the move. You catch the people in the middle that just don't say anything. Our far right, people that don't do anything. They just like that. Or they don't have an opinion. They just sit there and they go about their day and do their homework. And if you catch the people in the middle, that silent majority, move them to care. So you move the silent majority to caring, and you have the majority of people to care. Yeah. Yeah.
lot of times you're outreaching, you're doing something out. Tell people, hey, this is why this is such an opportunity. You kind of touched on this earlier too. This is why. I think that's huge. I think if you do, because they're more likely to listen if you sit them down and say, hey, this is why this is going to change, this is why people are upset. Instead of freaking out on one person all at once, because then they're going to kind of take a step back and think, well, it's really kind of it's really important to educate and start to be forceful. Obviously, you can do it when you follow the behavior you see. Someone, now I understand maybe my basic attitude is
and a really good way to get their attention is
in those files,
like Dr. Franklin said earlier that these things are happening will affect everybody and not just my goals. When you're not real down, tuition's going to go up. Athletes won't come. We got football, and everybody loves that. So I think, yeah, people tend to react to things when they realize that they're affected by it, which is really sad. That's how it works. So I think that's something to consider and talk about. I don't think that people see it now and be affected by it.
And this is forcing a lot of times I people not only that, I don't know if you would say that when you have a for everybody, but they're being there's a lot of background that that happens in games as well. But there's yes.
Part of it, if you guys are open, especially you, I would love to see an article Jack, President Jack, and others about how the alt-right is recruiting. You can't change if you don't know what your opposition is doing. So you need to understand what are they saying, what are they doing, who are they preying on, who are they going after. They're going after white men. For some reason they're not going after white men, they're going after white men. So understanding how we're being seduced in, and what is the language, what are the tactics, and what are the fears, what are the things that they're preying on you for. Things like black people are taking your rights. This is nothing about taking anybody's rights. There's a piece, and I'll send it to you, that white men feel their women, they're losing their women to other men of color. I mean, but some people are believing that. So you have to understand what the playing with the field, what the language is, what's going on there, and understand how you can counter that. It's a big piece. The other piece, this is what I've been saying to the Catholic schools. I think we have failed your generation in informing you about America's history. We've done a high flyover. We've talked about slavery. We've talked about Jim Crow. We've talked about Martin Luther King. But we've not shown you pictures. We're trying to get Dr. King's son to come here for Martin Luther King's birthday. And I'm saying, let's see if he can bring a portion of the Civil Rights Museum to Kansas City, so people can see what a lynching looks like and understand what KKK really looks like. Those kind of things, then you begin to say, understand. But if I were to say to any of you, what is a lynching? You probably couldn't come up with it. But I could, because I've seen it. So part of it is, how do we inform people who don't know their history? Once people get their history, then they're like, oh, now I get it. I'm on board. But we can't just say cultural competence and expect people to get it. You got to show them. What are we talking about? What has happened in America to get us to the place we're at?
So the thing is that those institutions, I guess the question is, how do we get the racist actions right? What some people are not considering right? So a lot of what I see is people coming, the family issue, that's
they can take their experience. We have to infiltrate culture, just like the alt-right is infiltrating. We have to give people things, tangible things that they can take with them to expose their mirrors, their floor, the building, whatever it's at. So maybe we make an investment. And we never get all of them. But we try for those meetings when we know who said it. Somebody said it. Last night was chapter meeting. Most chapters require men or women to be there. So you have a captive audience. So you do something that day. But you don't make it too long. You make it long enough for people to see some of the issues. But you got a captive audience. Make sure you utilize it. Whether it's at dinner or at the chapter meeting.
Are you guys required, when we have something in sport, if we have someone come and they speak to us something that you guys really have to do that. That's like you have to do. So I'm going to ask all of you, I guess, how do you have to sit down and maybe make that educational curriculum ready to go out and start contact? I need to start contacting.
Don't wait for them to come to you.
Yeah.
You have to.
They won't come to me. They don't know I exist.
Right. But SGA, even when I was here, has always been dominated by green. Always. So you have a good mix and a good audience. Utilize for that. And you have residents, you know.
Yeah. There's one last question. We covered the second one. What do you want to do? How willing am I to put myself in front of those kids?
I think that kind of goes along with what I said earlier, is I guess there's some people enough, and I think that's like when I was here, because today even while walking on campus, I would see someone that wants to say something. I have a solution listening to the right questions, which obviously to take this thing how you feel about this, what organization is done. And that's something I need to challenge myself to do better. So that's my mentality. Because I think a lot of people are looking for someone to talk to that can say things to build it up. So I just have to be kind of smartly discriminate against it. So I just saw a real mistake. This is just what I do. And let them talk. Taking that person who and being willing to do the next time taking rejections and observation. Yeah, this summer. I feel oh, on the spot. Yeah. It's the only way to do it. Alright, so I don't think I'd stop you walking out. Say you're sick. Then I feel bad.
Like I'm rushing, that's fine.
Okay, so
I'm just strolling along.
And you're looking from them. I am up to being there. Hey man, I'm PJ.
We're not.
They don't really know. I just want to get the see like the picture on Twitter and everything. With the cars and the I was just wondering like talked about it in class or anything.
So another way to do it is just to go right at it.
So start off like, hi, I'm really bored. I want you to know
I'm disgusted. Yeah.
What happened?
You got to get me. You got to bring me in quick, because I'm going to wonder why you stopped. So bring me in quick. Exactly. I'm gonna walk away from you. I'm gonna walk. I trust in you. So bring me in. trying to be intellectual about it, trying to come up with this paragraph. Like, dude, just get it. So I pledged to DU my sophomore year. And the way I did it, these guys come up to me. We would see each other every day walking down Anderson Street. All of us, Eisenhower, Monday they had the courage. They just simply said, would you be interested in coming to our house? Oh. So warm and gracious and kind. I was done. I was black and angry. And the kicking out of you could just see these guys went right to it because of their genuineness and their care. I went to their house. Then 6 weeks later, they're giving me a pledge card. I didn't know what a bitch is. And I mean, just because they had the courage to go right to it.
The last thing was having to bring that's a lot of yeah, I don't know what to do, but yeah, some guys started talking about me. I kind of have this mentality, headphones in, don't talk to me. I get it. There's a lot of reality is
You ever said that?
I'm kind of shy. I'm just going to take it all. Like I tell me, that's not very diverse. Somehow, some guy, which is very important. That's really
I can't say that. How willing are you all at least maybe we were to recognize that they have not had diversity and they're trying to figure out how to do it. So we have the school leaders of St. James Catholic coming November 1. And this huge K-State. Huge. I mean, that's just no other way. So I'm going to meet with Father Gail. He's awesome. Oh, anyway. What other how many pieces of this do you all wrestle with? I was one of the easiest ones that you all did talk about.
I guess I think the biggest issue probably a lot of white people who am I to say that? I feel like just since I'm that me trying, I just don't see the political talking about it because I know that people know how to. When it's just about
and most people don't give you just the instrument. If you come in arrogant, thinking you know everything, and I've read 10 books on the civil rights movement, shut down. You come in and I agree with you. But the other piece, all of y'all, none of you all would go and work in our white organization. Well, we're talking about the whole district like Tuesday. We're talking about impacting you. Do you understand that Caucasian families have to do what you have? You know why enrollment's down? It's now because of Caucasian. Our minority numbers are the highest in the nation. It's white people. And white families have it. The world is becoming much more multicultural. You're going to go to work for a hospital, research facility, and you're going to manage. So you might as well get on in there now. You're going to manage it. You're going to continue to see the multicultural, global thing. I live down the street from it. Why I
I have a question. Okay, so was there a community of
when I was everywhere. All over this country. I was president of 5 organizations at the same time. And I wasn't going to hear it. I wouldn't hear it. But people either didn't have the guts to say it. I'm not saying that they didn't think it. People didn't hear it. And they would fight themselves to say that. I went to KU, which was my first football game. And these group of guys, I think they were Greek, because they were all dressed up, said, "What is this?" And who was sitting in our section. I was done. I was done. I never was disrespected against it. Never. I said, "I'm done. I'm done with KU. I'm not going." And I thought that's enough. We've always been a warm, caring place to receive people. That's why this is just nuts. It's not our history. It's not what I know. So when I got the call, I said, "Hey, yeah, I'm coming over to the fall game." Our institution. This is just the last couple of years. And I think really because of our national flag.
Where I'm from is really diverse. Maybe it's like, I don't know, it's way different. And I didn't know if these things like anti-racist things, so they're lasting out in a bigger way to make them. It's almost like bullies, you know, the high school or something, and they feel scared and they get bigger.
So Thomas Friedman's written a book called Thanks for Being Late. People are using it as kind of a thesis for what the environment's like. He makes the supposition that we had a populist president win to just what you said, that people are afraid that other people are getting what they deserve or have as the economy shifts. So you have people who left rural America, who went to work for corporations without a college degree. Many of them didn't even have high school. My dad graduated from high school, went to the Korean War, came back, and sorted mail for 38 years. 38 years. They don't have sorters. And so people are seeing their jobs being lost, and they're thinking that other people are getting those jobs. They're not. There's plenty of jobs for all of us. I mean, Kansas City puts out an unemployment data thing every month. There's so many freaking jobs in Kansas City. It's like, why are people upset? Why are people scared? Just get your butt out there and go get a job. But there's a perception, especially with international coming over and taking a system.
I was going to ask that.
more determined, more introspective. For example, you all look nice. What you wear is not a lot. In some ways, I think you put people off because you look so nice. You got to remember, 70s was free. Free. I mean, you had long hair. You had people coming here. You didn't use this, but the other ones, no shoes, reeking with marijuana, long hair. You wanted everybody to be a part of it. You dress it up so much. You shoot people don't feel like I got to shoot. I think a campus, the way we're going, is a more private college club. Too expensive. Public is small. Presidents listen to their students. They don't listen. So I've been on campus. I cannot believe what y'all pay to park. This is astronomical. You have a hunting license. You don't have a parking permit. And I'm like, wow. And you stay around and you they're just things that I see and I'm like, wouldn't happen if I were here.
What kind of retaliation from administration or any sort of punishments did you see? So I take it upon myself.
What are they going to do?
We think that we protest. We're going to speak out. And I know, like, it seems like so many students are providing good schools going on that like you have to like submit it. You have to like I feel like I have to worry about like being speaking to me again because like high school. And so that's something I'm worried about.
I didn't know why we were like what they saw was there's nothing I managed to teach fresh out of college for business. I said, you gotta get the gap and you gotta make change. Companies, graduate schools, they're gonna think, here's one who doesn't mind tax. That's how they will view it.
Are you an intern? Yeah. What year are you?
June.
Were you a senator last year?
No.
All right, everyone, if we could start trying to find our seats again. No, that's fine. It is pretty cold in here.
I'm freezing. I'm already a cold body.
Awesome.
So are we done with open speakers?
You're gonna love.
All right. We'll try to bring it back together real quick. What I kind of want to do with this last little bit of the meeting is I want to take some time to break down some of the ideas as a group, some of the ideas that some of the groups had. Therefore, in the interest of time, I know everybody has school tomorrow, whether it be tests or homework assignments due. I am going to seek a motion to suspend the rules and postpone, or not postpone, and move all of our agenda items to next week. Is there someone who's willing to make that motion? Chair Neatery. It's moved and seconded to suspend the rules and move all of our agenda items to next week. Is there any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of moving all of our agenda items to next week, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. In the opinion of the speaker, that is a 2/3 vote, and therefore the rules will be suspended and all of our items of business will be moved to next week. Therefore, I want to take a little bit of time here tonight. If any of your groups have someone who'd like to be a spokesperson for your group, take a minute or two to share some of the discussion items that your group had. We'd love to have you come up to the front and share those ideas and discussion points. Caucus Leader Rostenpour.
Can Group 7 start?
Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Ramin. I'm in Group 7.
But in our discussions, we really talked about how we feel on this campus, and I do not necessarily feel unsafe walking around campus, but I definitely do not feel comfortable, and that is something that needs to change, and each and every one of you in this room can help with that change.
So I told a story about how yesterday when I went home, so in my household there is one international student from Saudi Arabia, one black student from Columbia, Missouri, myself from Kansas City, and then a white girl from Topeka. And Kelly asked us if we feel safe when we walk around campus alone at night. And Tony and Mo both said no. And I said yes, but it really hit home how close that was to me. How that was like two of my roommates, two of my best friends don't feel safe on this campus. So I, as a caucus leader, and our group was very caucus leader heavy, I want to meet with the College of Engineering caucus, and we can start a discussion on the group me, but I want to have a conversation with our dean and just see what his plan is for inclusion and diversity and all that stuff. So we will do a caucus meeting maybe tonight. If you've all got like tests and homework, I know I have 2 projects due tomorrow, we can do it a different day, but it should be soon. And I want to have each caucus leader also consider that.
And another thing that was
You go ahead. You talk.
Another thing that was mentioned last night is one girl came up and spoke, and she said, I really wish there was a multicultural student group on campus that everyone can come to and be included on and help. And thankfully there is. It's BSU, Halo, LULAC, all of those organizations. And I know it may be uncomfortable to be in a space that you're not the majority in, but I highly encourage you to come. I'm a part of BSU. I'm on exec. I'm a PR, not an intern there. And I will gladly sit with any of you, and I encourage you to come. And when you do go to these organizations and be there, don't just be a body in a space. Be open to hearing different ideas that may make you uncomfortable, because you need to be uncomfortable before everyone in this campus can be comfortable.
Mr. Cole.
So, the College of Business Admin had their dean come out and say, this stuff is horrible. College of AP Design had their dean come out and say, this stuff is horrible. Has the College of Engineering done anything?
I haven't seen anything.
Have they done anything in the past for these incidents at all?
I know that Laverne Bitsy Baldwin, who's in charge of multicultural engineering programming, met with the dean this morning, or Dean Clark at least this morning. I'm not exactly sure what, but she was at the event, and I'm sure she would be happy to sit down with a group of us and help that conversation continue.
And I was reminded of an instance like the day after elections last year, like I had just been elected, not even sworn in, where we met with the deans, and there was an incident where I felt like some students approached the dean's office about a multicultural, a diversity issue, and it was shot down instantly. And I want to bring that back up. And if you were in the room, you probably remember what we're talking about. It was Muslim Student Association. Maybe that'll help you remember.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up. Miss Ames.
Group 8, anyone else to join me from Group 8?
Okay, so Group 8, I'm just going to kind of run you through. I can't hold this and talk at the same time, so I'm going to stand behind the podium.
I'll actually just use this mic.
So I'm just going to kind of walk you through what Group 8 talked about, because if I try to explain it on its own, I'm not going to explain it correctly. And forgive me if I have to look at my notes for a second, because I took a ton tonight and they're just kind of everywhere. So one of the first things that we talked about, since the first question was, what is the current climate on campus, and what experiences have you heard about from the student body? So I started with asking them about kind of what their major is and how that can reflect what you hear, because I'm a political science major, and this is kind of just what we talk about. Like, it comes up in topic, it comes up when you talk to your friends that are in the same classes as you, but if you're like an engineering student, you're not really talking about social issues all the time. You're talking about like math and science and stuff, I think. But so we were just kind of talking about the difference about that, and how, if you aren't in that environment where you're talking about it all the time, then you're not hearing about it. And so maybe it's more important to talk to the students that aren't getting that message on their Twitter feed or their Facebook feed or in regular conversation with their friends. I just wanted to point that out. One thing I also asked our group was, where do you live? Because if you live in a dorm, I wanted to know how involved your RAs and the RLAs on your floor are with like either being there if you have a concern, or kind of initiating discussion and concern when something like this happens. And they said that it could be stronger, but that they are there at least. Another thing, I'm going to kind of skip a little bit, was we kind of worked our way into thinking about how we could get donors on board with the Multicultural Student Center. Because I think a big portion, first of all, of this room, but of the campus that isn't getting met, or like we aren't getting to this part of the campus when we have different diversity programs, we're saying more come to us, but no one's coming, is the Greek life. And I know a lot of you guys are Greek. The first time I came up and spoke, I asked you guys to raise your hand. So once again, can everyone in a Greek life or an organization raise your hand? So there we go. Just wanted to point that out again. But so something we talked about was how I've only been to like 3 or 4 sorority events when it involved food. So forgive me if I say something wrong about how anything is done in Greek. Anything. So just heads up. But if Greek Life sponsored some sort of event and partnered with Housing and Dining Services and BSU and ASSU and HALO and LULAC and all of those organizations, and kind of rallied all of these students together, because I know that sororities and fraternities can require you, or you get points or something to go to stuff, I think. I don't know. But so that from that, that's what I've heard. And I think if we required people to go to things like this and we made them come to us instead of just a class, instead of just a table in the union, instead of something like that, we actually physically made them show up, or at least a majority of them. I know we're not going to get everyone. That would show the donors that there is this group on campus that is interested and involved, because right now they know that the Black students want the Multicultural Student Center. They know that the Hispanic students want a Multicultural Student Center. They know that all of the international students want a Multicultural Student Center. What they're worried about is the majority, which is the white students. If they don't have the support of the white students, then they don't have support in their eyes. And so I just wanted to say that if we got Greek Life on board, we would have so many people on board, and that, you know, if it was a fundraising event, we might not raise that much money, but we would get that much money from donors, is what I'm saying, is we would get so many more donors on board. And that's something that is a reality that we just have to face when we're talking about the Multicultural Student Center, and it really sucks. But that's an idea. Just wanted to throw that out there. So we kind of talked about how would we get the ball rolling on that. If we had a group of 3 start with PHC and IFC and ARH meetings. So that's like housing and dining, and then Greek stuff. There's too many acronyms. I can never remember all of them. But so that's basically what it is. If we had like someone from SGA, someone from BSU, or one of the other diverse groups on campus, and then someone from College Republicans or Young Democrats or something like that, you know, like not just 3 people from the exact same group go and speak at these things and explain why we want to do this and get them on board. And we kind of maybe not reach the level of emotion and intensity that was in this room tonight, but if we actually make them feel something, then we could get them to get their students and their members on board so that it's something that they actually want to be a part of. Because I think that if we don't get Greek Life on board, then we're not getting a Multicultural Student Center, and that's just a reality, which really sucks. So we kind of talked about when we could do this. Once again, I have no clue how long this would take, but I think the sooner the better. And if we could do something during the week of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is usually the week that we come back to school, it's already on, okay, pardon my language, but it's already on everyone's every white person's mind. And that's about the only week that they think about it, because they see it on Facebook, they see it on their calendar, and then, you know, for the rest of the year, they don't really have to think about it unless something happens on campus. So let's get that ball rolling so that we can have something that week. It's on everyone's mind. It's something that we can do all together. And I just thought that would be a good time. I know that's probably way too early, but that was just a good date in my head. So any questions? Or I don't know if you're supposed to ask that.
Any questions? If not, oh, yes.
With the requirement of fraternities and sororities to come, would that be kind of counterproductive if you're requiring Greek Life to come and they just come because it's required?
Well, so yes, if we just said, hey, come to this, and then they sat on their phone the whole time, that would be counterproductive. But if we have activities or the way that we structure what happens at this event to where they have to hear it and they have to be involved, or maybe to get whatever like participation points they need, they have to take something back from what they've said, like what has been said. If we had Dr. Franklin? If we had Dr. Franklin come and speak, I gotta be honest, that was way more moving than I was expecting to get tonight. And I gotta be honest, I feel like a lot of you, it actually struck a chord with you for the first time. So I think if he came and spoke, had a couple more speakers, had some testimonies, and then we had food, which would obviously bring a crowd, and kind of like tables to where, I know that this has been thrown around before in Young Democrats, but I don't know. One of the members in our little group brought it up, and that's what made me think about it, but kind of like a table where it's like, come and ask me questions. Come and ask me about blank. come and ask me about whatever. And it's like international students, BSU, someone's there to answer a question. If we had something like that afterwards, I feel like we might get to more people than if we just made them listen to a presentation. They sat on their phone the whole time and then they left. So that's just another idea.
Further questions?
Yes.
Attorney General Hanneman.
This is less of a question, more of like what my group had talked about, but we had talked about doing an event as well, and something that I like the idea of your event. It's awesome, something we could definitely do. I think the act that we saw on Wednesday, it affected our entire Manhattan community, not just our K-State community, and I think we need to make sure that when we put this event together, we need to reach out to our entire Manhattan community, businesses, everybody, and bring them in and encourage them and have them participate in this event, because it's all of us, not just the university.
So that made me think, we were trying to talk about where we could possibly do this if we have like all of Greek life there and as many people from housing and dining as we could get there, and then people from all these other organizations. That's a lot of people in January. So it's not like you could have it in a big park or something because it's freezing. But so you made me just think about, like, I know it's expensive and I don't know how expensive, but I'm sure it is. But like the Wareham, like they do for Shamrock or something, that's a big enough space that I think would be able to hold those people. I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas here.
I'll talk to you afterwards because I know who owns that area.
Caucus Leader Rostenborg.
We could also look into leveraging athletics and Bramlage.
We talked about Bramlage, but if we make it a community thing, I think a non-on-campus location would encourage more community members to show up. If that makes sense.
Further questions? Caucus Leader Kidd.
Yeah. So I serve on the Campaign for Nonviolence Committee, and actually at the meeting today we talked about our 64 days of nonviolence. Did any part of that come up in your group discussions?
I have actually never heard of that, so.
Okay, cool.
No, but I love it.
No, you're good. I can't ask a question that I already know the answer to, so I'm just going to end about that. So.
Further questions? Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Speaker Pro Tempore Magnani.
Hi, I'm Saiba. I'm an intern. We were in Group 9. One of the main things we were talking about is the impact that the environment has had on being a minority in general. So having the fear of not wanting to leave your home, or like having to take your address off cases, or the idea that like minorities like Tendai and I can sit here and talk about our experiences, but the more we talk, the more we're putting ourselves at risk. And so we're sitting up here talking about how I feel unsafe being an Indian American who can be labeled as a terrorist just because I have more melanin in my skin tone. But the more I talk and the more I say things that could resonate poorly with other people, the more I'm making myself a target and the more I feel like I'm putting myself in danger. So the minorities can sit here and we can talk and like to anyone who will listen, but at the same time, we can't do everything because we know in the end we're going to be the ones who are targeted and we're going to be the ones who are in danger in the end. So do what you can. Start talking to minorities about how you can get involved. I do simple things like putting what's going on in my group chats with my white friends and being like, hey, we're going to talk about this. And they're like, I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, we're going to talk about this. We have to talk about the implications this has. We have to talk about what's going on in the community. Force your friends to have these conversations. They're not easy conversations to have, but at this point, we don't have a choice.
I just wanted to, one of the things I mentioned, I want my fellow counterparts to know the multicultural groups and any other marginalized groups don't hate you. In fact, they want to come together so that you can understand what we're going through so we can work together on these issues. So tonight, as you go home, don't walk out of this room feeling that you're being targeted or being hated, but we want you to understand that we want to work with you. We want you to understand the pain we go through. Speaking of like moving forward in implementation, I think I'm going to go ahead and say that the 3 platforms, somebody from Senator will do diversity, one recruitment and retention, and the other one advising. I'm going to have to say that when I meet with my caucus leaders, this has to happen. So people who are senators, and I'm extending my invitation to also interns who will be interested. And if you want to team up to work on one of those 3 platforms, because I think you already know that people really need things to happen and change. So when I send out an email with my caucus leaders, when we ever have our caucus leadership meeting, I'm hoping to see senators and also, as I said, it's extended to interns who will be willing to serve, one focusing on diversity, recruitment and retention, and advising within their college, because I believe moving forward, we will actually start making change and progress. And then lastly, the Sunday, 3 p.m. SGA Week is meeting. If you're wanting to know more information on the agenda, please contact me, send me an email. But SGA meeting this Sunday, 3 o'clock in the CSI conference.
Yeah, so I just jotted a few notes down from our discussion. So minority students are constantly in fear on this campus, and they don't feel comfortable walking around, which is not okay in the slightest. Possibly looking into investing in more campus security was brought up. I don't know if that would be constantly or strictly at night, or I don't know details technically. But I thought it was a good point to write down. Just the thought of someone walking on this campus and not feeling okay it's really unsettling to me personally. People on this campus seem to be more culturally incompetent than ever, and we kind of talked about how we don't really have a diversity program for incoming students. And someone mentioned that they have a friend that goes to a different university, that they have kind of just a forum on diversity for incoming students where people can kind of be candid and bring those things up that maybe incoming students don't know, just so they can be more conscious throughout the year in their actions. And then lastly, kind of a good point that I thought was that have everyone in SGA go through a sort of diversity training, just so that us as campus leaders can kind of be more aware of what we do and how we come off to other students and the people that we represent. So, yeah.
Are there any questions for any of our speakers? If questions?
No.
Wanting to speak? Awesome. If there's no further questions, I'm not going to cut off on the number of speakers that we have tonight, but I want to encourage everyone to be concise when they share their thoughts tonight. With that, we're going to go to Mr. Cole.
Okay. So I'm going to use the room as a case real quick, because that's what I do. It is on. Cool. I'm just going to hold it. So a pattern that keeps getting brought up in every single dialogue that I go to is going to be this one. How many of you consider yourself from like a predominantly white area or a small town? Okay. So keep your hand up. How many of you were exposed to diversity in those areas? Keep your hands up or down, or put your hands down if you have. That was a bad question. Hold your hands up back. I can't talk today. Cool. So put your hands down if you were exposed, or if you were never exposed to diversity or inclusion at your previous institution or where you come from. So, never. So, we had a lot of hands go up and then half of them went up. You can put your hands down. I think that is one of our big issues, is just getting people aware of what is this thing that we call diversity. Because when you come from small town Kansas, you don't know what gay people are, or you don't know what these people of color, like how they feel.
this is your first encounter coming to K-State and seeing all those people that are different than you. I think that's part of our problem, and in spite of trying to keep everything short and sweet, just leaving it at that.
Any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thanks for sharing. With that, we'll move to Senator Works.
Hey guys, so I'll make this short. I'm just gonna represent Group 12, and I'm just gonna talk about a couple of like the ideas that we had, because I feel like we're all talking about the same dialogue, and we're all like, trying to get there to like understand more where everybody's coming from. And so I'll just talk about some of the ideas that we had. So one of them has kind of been proposed a little bit earlier, and that was like having a rally of sorts associated with Greek chapters. And so kind of like another idea with that, using Bramlage or whether it's Forum Hall here in the Union, is like Wednesday nights are when a vast majority of campus all meets around the same time, being Greek chapter meetings. And not every Greek chapter necessarily meets on Wednesdays, but a vast majority do. And Greek chapters, like people on campus, make up 20% of campus, somewhere around there. And so I think like a really good idea that we talked about was having Dr. Franklin, Dr. Bosco, and Jack come and talk if we could get a large group. And so the basic ideas of it is like if we could get Lucas and whoever else in IFC and PHC to like ask chapter presidents to cancel the chapter meeting and instead implore that the members go to this meeting and rally wherever it be held, and make it like a requirement so that would get that specific area of campus there, and then also reach out to the residence halls and other organizations on campus, which is also equally as important because it's not just a Greek thing, it's a campus-wide thing. I think that would be a really, really good idea. Definitely need to work out the details of it, but I think the bones of that idea are there. And then next up, we're trying to think of other like large areas to, kind of talk about like the feelings of campus as a whole. And so there's no home football game this weekend, but there is in 2 weeks West Virginia in the afternoon. And so one idea that we have that would also need some working with is at kickoff, if we could get a large group of students to all make posters that have different things. Like I know one of the hashtags that's been going on Twitter has been "Fix This Family." If you guys have seen that and other ones, if we would all have a peaceful demonstration of holding up, like all in solidarity at kickoff, I think that'd be like a really, really big thing, and it'd be showing the community that the students feel that way, because the student section faces the alumni section for the most part, and that'd be a really, really good way to do that, and it could be a one-time thing. And I don't know if you guys have seen other sports stadiums around the world, and they all hold up the signs and it makes like a shape or a saying. Well, that's a far off idea, but I think if we all held individual sayings on the sign, I think it'd be a really, really cool thing that would be like a really make a really big deal and impact, especially if it would be able to be shown on the Jumbotron. If there'd be like really cool pictures with that, all zoomed in on like the individual sayings. So that's one other idea. And this isn't necessarily an idea, but this is more an invitation for education for all of us. And so earlier, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. From Ayana, yes, she talked about how she put in her architecture group meeting the pictures of the car and the vandalism that happened there and how nobody responded. That really like struck me because that happened to me as well. And in one of my groups, the group meetings that I'm in, Alexis Couchon, if those of you who know who that is, she's an awesome girl that goes to K-State here, who's heavily involved in BSU and various other organizations. She put that in there and talked about it, and that was the first time I had seen it. And I just like the students in architecture saw it, of course, like it struck a chord, but I didn't do anything because I didn't know what to say, because I think for all of us that are not minorities, hesitate whether to hit a like on it. What does that mean? Or if we do respond via social media or group me, like what do we say? And so basically with that is if Tendai or Ryan or whoever else, when they come up to talk, if they could almost educate us on what they want us to say in a situation like that, because I think a lot of us want to say something, we just don't know what to say, especially over social media, because it's hard to reflect empathy over social media in just words. And so that's something else that I can't answer, that I would ask somebody else later to come up with, because I think we all were in that situation yesterday where we saw it on social media put out by everyone. And that's all I have. If anyone has any questions, happy to take them.
Questions for Senator Works? If there
Thanks.
are none, thanks for coming up. Next up is Chair Bickerud.
All right. Well, normally I don't get nervous when I speak, but for some reason I am right now. I'm with Group 3. I don't know. I'm not going to say I represent or speak for Group 3, but there are a couple things I figured I would talk about just based on our conversation. So first and foremost, we're going to do a little self-governance. And if you could look to the person to your left and the person to your right, and if you see that they're on social media or they're on their laptop answering emails, if you could go ahead and ask them to politely put that away unless it's something truly important that's more powerful than what we have going on right here. So I think we need to start taking ownership of our actions. I think so I'm going to jump around a little bit, but I know we were talking about fraternities and sororities and how powerful they are on our campus. Raise your hand again if you are in a fraternity or sorority. Yeah. Raise your hand if you've ever had a consultant come to town and visit with headquarters. Yeah, you can go ahead and put your hands down. I worked 1.5 years as a consultant for my fraternity, and I visited K-State. That was the first time I ever met K-State and that K-State family. And one of the things I took away from that experience is if you want to get the fraternities and sororities to be engaged in this, you have to give them ownership. Just like the way you were given ownership of this experience tonight. You were not a participant, you felt it, you experienced it, you're now vested in it. And so if we create something and we then invite these organizations into the room, you're not providing them the context for which they can speak on an equal plane or they can contribute. And so I think you have to identify the leadership within those organizations and welcome them to be a part of the planning. That is where you're going to get the membership to follow. To look at them and demand that they come and engage in equity and inclusion and social justice conversations isn't going to drive the narrative of where we're trying to go. It's only going to further alienate and make them feel that they were forced to do something out of will and not out of desire. And if you give them that ownership and that feeling of being a part of these conversations and growing with us, recognizing we are all somewhere on this spectrum of knowledge and growth, then I think we're opening up that door and welcoming them in, welcoming them to the conversation. On top of that, I want to go back to the conversation of the speakers at the event. I know we talked about Dr. Franklin, and I think your contribution today has been incredibly powerful. And we talked about having Bosco and Jack. And I think those voices are important, but they only speak to a narrative of a professional or of a doctor or of a campus leader. And it's the voices that you hear from Ayana, where it's a student next to you in class that truly challenges your thinking and opens your eyes to a different lens. And I think those are the voices that need to be heard and welcomed to this conversation if we choose to move forward in this direction. On top of that, I want to go back to the conversation we had with our 3 questions. And I want you to close your eyes and think for a moment. I want you to think about how it felt when Tendai stood here and read the words off of the PowerPoint, and what it felt like to hear them, knowing those words, and knowing what that's like, how it made you feel. Open your eyes. You might have felt something, and that's an important thing to feel. And when we engage in these small group conversations, it's interesting how quickly we move out of that space and that feeling and that disgust and that anger and move towards what's next, or what can we do, or how can we fix, and how quickly we turn our back and forget that there are many people who still stand and live in that feeling that we felt for a brief moment. And I don't think that's something that can be ignored. And that we might have had the first experience of what some are feeling every day from the moment they've been born until the moment they die. And that now we no longer have an excuse to stand by and do nothing. And to answer the question that was asked prior by the previous speaker of saying, what do I say? How do I respond? One of the most powerful things you can say when you know nothing is to say just that, and to empathize and say, I am so sorry, you're in so much pain. and I don't even have words right now. But I hurt. That is family. Events, rallies are powerful, but it's that human-to-human, person-to-person connection that speaks to who we want to be, not who we currently are. I stand for questions. Questions for Chair Bickerud? If yes.
Who are you?
Sorry. My name is Glenn Bickerud. I'm a second-year grad student in the College Student Development Program here. I hail from...
Very good.
Thanks. If you met me before I came to K-State, you wouldn't believe how far I've progressed in social justice and where I am today. To be able to stand in front of you and say that, to meet me prior when I was working full-time, it's a completely different person. That's been my personal journey. And there's been events I've gone to that have supported that and these conversations, but it has been my choice to stand in these awkward conversations and these painful feelings and choose to lean in and choose to stand by those who are currently hurting. And knowing how that feels and recognizing the empathy within that, because it's so easy to sympathize. Yeah, that's me.
Very good, thank you.
Further questions? Thanks for coming up. Further speakers? Yes. Intern Carpenter, thank you.
Yeah, hi. Hi guys, my name's Shelby. I'm an SJ intern and I was with group 10. This is Ryan.
I'm Ryan.
And just to keep it short and sweet, I just want to hit on some of like the highlights and the actual things that Group 10 wants to do, because we're pretty fired up. We want to keep having these conversations, but we also want to do something. We really highlighted on not just being reactive, but we want to be proactive. We want to hold that rally. We want to have students coming and be able to give them this platform and talk. So some of the things we discussed were a protocol or alert system. I think it was Julia who mentioned, I get an alert for every time there's a K-State volleyball game. How come I don't get an alert when there's a rally going on or something like that, or when something really terrible has happened to one of our fellow students and we need to create that space to talk about it. Additionally, kind of posing the question, why didn't SGA have an emergency meeting last night when we very well could have, and given even more students the platform to come and chat about what happened. Also, dressing down for our next meeting, we're really open to that idea to make our guest speakers feel more comfortable, for students who want to come and hold us accountable and be a part of the conversations we have. We would really like to help create that environment, kind of break down that wall of professionalism that not everyone's fortunate enough to partake in. And we also talked again about just giving our constituents and our friends a platform. Send that text, send that email, and not just to your friends or to your dean, but go all the way up. President Myers, why are you in DC talking about national security when the security of your students is just as important? So.
Thank you, Shelby. I just wanted to add a couple things. Number one, for us new SGA members, I don't know if you guys remembered, but last year, Dr. Franklin came and spoke to us. Tonight it was awesome, right? Pumped us up. I'm jacked up. Last year we felt the same thing. What changed, right? What are we going to take from this night and contribute to the rest of our SGA careers, rest of our student careers? Diversity and inclusion is kind of like this outside thing, right? You have advising, you have, sorry, Tendai. You have all these different issues, and then you have diversity and inclusion. Why can't we incorporate those values, those perspectives into everything we do? Why do we have to postpone a meeting, the actual agenda items, so that we can talk about diversity at our university? So that's kind of all I had to say about that. I would just encourage all of you, there were conversations, Colby, kind of like what we can do. Get uncomfortable in everything you do. Talk to people you don't talk to. Sit next to someone you don't know in Senate. There's students in here who aren't even senators sitting in here. Thank you to all of you. I would just recommend that we start doing those types of things. Do something crazy, do something courageous, and be bold. Thanks, guys.
Any questions? Seeing none further speakers. Director Moore, thank you, sorry.
Okay, so I guess my mic's on first, so I'm going to go first. So I'm Ethan. I'm a sophomore senator for the College of Arts and Sciences, and William and I are representing Group 1. And so something that I want to touch on just real quick is we've been talking about having those conversations and getting really uncomfortable. And literally, Dr. Franklin gave us a great crash course. I'm kind of talking for PJ. He had to leave for a test, but just a great crash course on how to get uncomfortable and just dive after it. So he said literally a good way to approach someone on campus, if you see someone the day, a person of like color the day of an event, or just anyone the day of an event who looks uncomfortable, go up to them and say, "Hi, I'm Ethan. I'm disgusted by what happened today, and like I'm taken back by it. If you are too, would you like to take a few minutes to discuss it?" And he said not to worry about using flowery language and trying to beat around the bush and just find some great way to say it. Just be real, because the issue's real and everyone's going to be shaken up. So if you do feel uncomfortable and it's going to be super awkward when you do try it, just go for it, because more than likely that person, no matter what their race is probably feeling just as, if not more, uncomfortable and wanting to talk about it.
And like Ethan said, we had the pleasure of talking to Dr. Franklin, and he has charged us to take back the university. He says that we're following now, and I agree with him. We are following the administration. Instead, we should be protesting. We should be getting out there and saying, this is what we want. We don't want tuition and fees increases. Our students are uncomfortable. We want this for them. We should be doing that, and we are not going to be reprimanded for that. We're not going to be kicked out of the university for that. We're instead going to get what we want. So that's what we need to do. We need to start having those rallies, those protests, and shutting down the university by flushing toilets all at the same time. So why doesn't SGA do that? Why doesn't SGA do that anymore? I think you said the 70s was freak. Is that why aren't we better? Why do we dress like this and put people out of our meetings because we look nicer than them? Why don't we just have a casual Senate? Why don't we have discussions sponsored by SGA? And that's what we need to be doing. We need to have educational programs and going to these Greek organizations and telling them the dialogue of what's happening, show them the reality of what's happening, and show them what they can do to get that silent majority that doesn't seem to care and get them to care. That's all I gotta say.
With that, are there any questions?
So, I'm noticing another pattern too. That way back in September when the white supremacist flyers went up, I also brought up being uncomfortable and reaching out and everything. And Jack also got it before Student Senate was like, yo, shut your laptops off and all of that. And it happened for some people. I'm just curious what makes tonight different than way back in September.
It doesn't. We just didn't do anything. I know I didn't do anything. I'm campus climate and safety director. I should have done something. But I didn't, because I'm part of the problem.
I have a follow-up too. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So, what's going to stop us from, not us, what is going to stop Student Senate from just repeating the same behavior then? That's, I think, one of the biggest concerns right now is that we're talking about this. Is there going to be any action?
Hold each other accountable.
Yeah. The best thing is personal accountability. I think, sometimes I think this comes with a suit, is a suit makes it impersonal just because you're so dressed up and so official about everything. I think it's about being very intentional on a one-to-one basis and following up with people and saying, like, have you done this today? Have you continued? Because we made this promise back in November that we were going to hold each other accountable, and actually following through with that and being invested. And if you aren't being invested, evaluating, should I be in this body? Is there someone willing to take my place who could do a better job than me, and being real with where your place is?
Kind of the third part too. Did we make those commitments to each other tonight then?
Yeah, I don't think so. I hope other people did.
I'll hold Ethan accountable. Ethan will hold me accountable. I know Jack's going to hold me accountable. He's my boss.
Is there a fourth question?
Okay, so I just wanted to say, is it possible that some of these things that we've thought about tonight, can we like assign jobs to people so that we know who's going to get the ball rolling on some things? Because if we leave here tonight and people don't know what to do and they assume someone else is going to do it, accountability is nice and everything, but after tonight we're not going to remember exactly what everyone said unless we took notes. So I think we need to take some roles, we need to figure out what people need to do so that we can actually get started.
Absolutely. Were you vying to answer that question, Stephen?
I was offering part of an idea. At least one person from each group type up the notes and send it to Jonathan Pushin. By Friday night. By Friday night.
Yes, that'd be great. Also, if anyone wants to take the lead on any of these issues, I would be more than happy to set up a committee to get rolling on this. I think that if we've got a group of people who are dedicated, if we've got a group of people who are holding us and holding each other accountable, I think there's no stopping what we can do. So, and Maddie, every student who takes 1 credit hour at K-State is an SGA member. You're more than welcome to be a part of that committee. Awesome. Speaker Pro Tempore Mignani.
I think the thing about accountability, I think it's safe to say that obviously people can actually nominate and start talking right now who wants to take initiative on the diversity, advising, and also the recruitment and retention.
Yep. Right there.
Hi, I'm an intern. My name is Natalie. I am an intern. But I think one of the things that needs to be addressed is the issue with formality. Like I know that Edwin was saying up front that he was worried to say anything because for fear of getting kicked out. And I know that as a new intern coming in, I wasn't sure when I could talk or if I would be, like suffer some sort of issue if I said something out of turn. Also, this is my first time saying anything, if that says anything to you. But I think that it's important to make changes. And my question is, what changes are we going to make so that and I'm not saying we need to get rid of formality, but that people who come in and talk to us feel comfortable talking. What changes can we make in order to insert these things into Senate so that it is an open conversation instead of just about the formality?
Great question right there. I think one thing we can do is that's been brought up is an informal Senate, one where not everybody's not dressed up. I think that's definitely a good way to let people know that we are open and accessible, and we are willing to hear their ideas that they have. Makes us a little more approachable. We'll go right there, Allison.
I just have a question about that. Yeah. The formality isn't required, is it? Like
that is correct. It is not required.
We do this out of like kind of just like taking our just kind of like saying we take our jobs like seriously. Like it's just kind of a meeting deal, not like we do it like we just do it because we do it. It's not like required.
Question there in the back.
Hi, I'm an intern. My name's Erin. If we're getting back to the whole committee thing, I think that's a really good idea to like get one together so people are actually in charge of something. Is there a way that we can set that up after this meeting ends that people can come like volunteer for that?
Absolutely. If you're
Speaker Pushin.
Yes, sir.
I think the problem is that we were trying to get something implemented, but we're jumping already to different questions. But I think we need to look at one question and look at evaluate it and actually implement it. Because we're just jumping, going ahead and saying this.
I agree. Chair Bickford, we're going to hear what do you got for us?
Just a question. Have we considered in replacement of caucus time outside of special, maybe monthly caucus meetings, convening in the small groups we met in today to continue these conversations weekly as a part of that accountability measure, to continue those conversations, perhaps some prime questions or different things going on in the community so we can engage in a smaller setting and hold each other accountable?
We had not, but that is a great idea.
So I can actually add on to that. That's Cats for Inclusion. So as we're trying to organize stuff, that's when you should go to those spaces. I'm just saying.
So with that, I want to encourage you all to go to the Cats for Inclusion events. But I think we're kind of getting to a point where we need to start putting some action to some ideas. So therefore, I'm going to start closing off this discussion here. And we'll move towards ending our meeting tonight. Therefore, at the very end of the meeting, if any of you guys have If any of you guys want to be a part of the group that starts tackling these ideas and starts figuring out which ones are the best ones for us to pursue, or if you have more ideas that you'd like that committee to consider, please come down to the front. And then also, please hold me accountable to make sure I remind you all of that at the end of the meeting as well. With that, is there anybody who'd like to make one last announcement? I know Mary, Director Binovan, wanted to be last. So we'll bring you up, and then we'll bring Jack and make him be last.
I can wait, I kind of want to say something really briefly. Sorry, it's going to take a second.
Go ahead and stand up. And, yeah. Yep.
Thank you, everyone who came to Pizza and Politics to lighten things up. It really meant a lot. It was a really stressful thing to plan, and that we had like 120 people showing up was really awesome, and hopefully you all learned something from it. And if you want to go to Topeka next semester in the spring and advocate for higher ed, email Jack, email me, email Glenn, email whoever you want. It was awesome that you all showed up. Thank you. Take it away. Thank you.
Real quickly, I just wanted to say a couple quick things. First of all, to all the students who spoke, thank you. That required a lot of bravery, and especially when, with all the conversations we're having about students that don't feel safe on campus, the fact that you're able to stand up and speak, I think really helps this body to move forward, and we so greatly appreciate that. That's not something that you should have to do. It's not the responsibility of students of color to come up with solutions for issues that uniquely affect them. That's something that we need to take on as student government. And that's, sorry, I didn't see that there. That's something that we all need to do a better job of being innovative with our strategies there in ways that we can move forward on that. So I just want to say thank you again. The concerns presented are extremely valid, and that validity comes because it's what you experience. And that's something that I think that we need to do a better job as a campus community. And this is something that goes way beyond SGA, but as an entire university body, to say that because students are feeling it a certain way, that is valid, that's a concern, and that should be, as Dr. Franklin said, at the forefront of our mission. If it's okay with you, I'm going to read real quickly. It's off the topic. However, just want to make sure, for those of you that weren't aware of Riley County Police Department's Facebook post, I'm going to read that real quick. Okay. Riley County Police Department. Our 911 center and K-State's center are getting back-to-back phone calls with third-party information about a planned, quote, shooting in the Ville this weekend. At this point, nothing credible has been found. All information we've received has been third-party information. We received the first report of the social media post yesterday. As informational report has been filed, and officers are aware and have already started looking to statements. Again, at this time, nothing credible has been found. If you have any information on the source of the claims, we urge you to contact Riley County Police Department. We want you to thank our citizens for being so proactive in reporting this. So I should make sure everybody was aware. And going back to kind of what we talked about with the duty of a student senator, is that you need to share that with your constituents. Make sure everybody's aware of the threat that's been made and that everybody is safe this weekend. So
would you also add
yes,
that this has gone out to the FBI?
Sorry, this is a completely separate event. However, Dr. Franklin has a really good point, is that the car, the racist vandalism, when the Riley County Police Department started investigating, they did in fact contact the FBI. And is it officially being investigated as a hate crime?
Yes. So all of our press inquiries
are now supposed to go straight to the FBI. The FBI is investigating it as a hate crime. That's a major accomplishment because so many of these events have not been investigated, but they're taking it very serious. So you should understand that as well.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mary.
Really quick.
Oh, yes.
Okay, one logistical thing, please send notes and send to Jonathan like Stephen mentioned. There's been a lot of great conversation tonight. We don't want to lose that. And then separately from that, as we talk about, events and all these different things we can do structurally and systematically within SGA. Also, I just want you to take a moment and just really reflect individually what you can do, how you're feeling, what you can do in your own personal life, because I think those two things need to work in tandem to really make a lasting impact. The relationships you have with people, the changes you make within your own living situations or your own classes. I really encourage you to think about that as well tonight, even though we're talking about large-scale events as well. So work in tandem to make a larger impact. So,
All right, like
Jack said, thank you for everyone who spoke. Thank you for everyone who has volunteered on a daily basis to help resolve this issue. How many people know who I am? Raise your hand. Okay. So I'm Mary Bunapan, Multicultural Affairs Director. Okay? I said this last night. Every day, my goal is to make sure that our students feel safe in the multicultural, and like our multicultural students feel safe, that they feel like they belong, so that I can hear what they have to say. That is my job. That is what I live for. Every single day, that is how I live. Okay? I got so frustrated. You can ask Nick. I was just shaking in my seat. When people here asked what they can do, what can I do? We never know what to do. Maybe this time, maybe because something terrible has happened, you all are listening for once. I don't know. Every time I've come up here, how many times, who's heard me talk up here? Raise your hand. Okay, okay. I'm going to give an example. How many people were here when we talked about DACA? Raise your hand. How many people heard the stories of the students that you are sworn to represent when they came and talked up here? Raise your hand. How many people were here when I gave you an opportunity to help? When I thought, what can I do to make our senators, who are so busy, you know, to take 2 minutes of their time to write something for the students that they heard their stories? You know how many letters I got that night? Out of everyone in this room, I got 10 letters. 10 letters. That's a problem. The fact that we only can have these conversations when something bad happens, when there are so many opportunities for you to get involved, when there are already so many good things happening on campus. BSU always has these conversations. Halo always has these conversations. The international students always do things. It's not just about going to the meetings. It's about going to the events. It's about interacting with them, because they are not problems. They're people with stories. They are people you are representing on this campus. You have a responsibility. And when I come up here and I say I'm open and I'm ready and I have all these ideas, like everything that people have talked about tonight, I'm working on behind the scenes because no one is helping. Because everyone is so wrapped up in their little bubble, and I know how easy that can be, but this is a priority. This is getting worse. And it's not just about doing something when something bad happens. It's about building a relationship. It's about approaching people as people and not as an issue that you add to your plate. So when I come up here, when I talk about things that you can get involved in, I don't want to see people rushing out because Senate was too long. If Senate was too long, leave. Leave your place and give it to someone who gives a damn. When of all the times that I've been in here, one intern reaches out to me and says, tell me more about this. I know you were involved. One person reaches out to me to help. Of all the people in this room, that's a shame. That's disappointing. Last night at the BSU meeting, I looked around, I didn't see very many people, and I wasn't surprised. I'm frustrated that I've lost my faith in you. I'm frustrated that other people have come here putting their faith in you and you've treated it like nothing. What are you going to do after 2 weeks, after this has died down? How are you going to incorporate it in your everyday life? How are you going to make a commitment to not just big things, but little things that matter? Having conversations, going to sitting in the MSO room, going to La Loteria when Halo has it, interacting with people who you represent to listen to them. I'm going to say it again. It is a priority, and it is your responsibility. Act. Come to me. I'm here. I'm a resource. I can put you in contact with the right people. I will do anything it takes. It's up to you. I can't do it alone. BSU can't do it alone. We're all tired. We're so tired. We're so tired. If you care, if you're taking your role as senators seriously, show it. Act.
Thank you. Director Kuchera, do you have one last thing to add?
All I was going to say is there is another opportunity to help our K-State DACA students. It's tomorrow. LULAC on this campus is having an event at the State House, a rally at the State House in Topeka from 12 until 5. I can't be there the whole time, but send me a message. I'm going to stay late tonight here. If you want to ride, if you're interested in coming, let me know. This is a chance to help 40 of our fellow K-Staters who their existence here at the university and in this country hangs in the balance. So I'm going to hang around. I don't have plans afterwards.
Awesome. With that, we'll move towards adjournment. I want to make a couple quick announcements. If you have notes or took notes for your committee and you're wanting to share those with me, my email is jpeuchen@ksu.edu, jpeuchen@ksu.edu. Also, if you want to be a part of a solution, not certainly the solution, please feel free to come up to the front, and we'd love to connect you with some place to get involved. Also, yep.
I just have an announcement when you're done.
Awesome, sounds good. Also, guys, I know this meeting has been long tonight, but don't let tonight end. We've got to keep working. We've got to do better. We've got to hold ourselves and each other accountable to making a difference here. With that, Dr. Franklin, you're welcome to come up.
Yeah, I hesitate to do this, but I'm going to do it. I appreciate I appreciate your comments so much. You helped me understand we've lost our student government. And so talking about taking back the campus, we need to take back student government. Y'all have lost something. This is not the student government I was president of. Not everybody in this room is in this room for the right reason. Some of you are in this room for your resume. When we committed 10 to 20 hours a week. We gave our asses for this university. I was student body president, first African American, 55% of the vote. You got a rec complex because I got my butt out and I worked my butt off to get you a rec complex. I came back, I dug the dirt for your rec complex. We petitioned, we yelled and screamed at the governor that we wanted a student on the Board of Regents. He said no, but he appointed me at age 24. At 26, I was chair of the board. 26 years old. We gave our life for student government. Now I'm coming back to give my life, and I'm trying to figure out as I'm sitting here, what's missing here? Y'all are lost in formalities, you're lost in structure, and you're lost in commitment. Somebody should be running for mayor. Somebody should be running for city council. Somebody should be running for lieutenant governor. And damn, by now somebody ought to be governor out of this office, out of this group. This has been the strongest student government in the state of Kansas for years. But I don't know if I can say that right now. Y'all need to make some commitments. Y'all got to come back. This is not just about taking it back because we've had an incident. What I'm hearing is y'all need some fundamental change in how we function.
Because this is not what I left. This is not how I gave up my life for this institution. To come here and sit and hear people ready to go. I know half of y'all ready to go. I mean, ready to go, go. Let's go find somebody else who wants to be here, who wants to make a difference, who wants to not just take back the campus, take back the damn city, the whole county, and get involved in it and work it. Y'all should be running for city council. There should be nothing come before city council that doesn't have your fingerprints on it. No new restaurant, no new business, no nothing. This is your city. We were involved in all of it. How many of y'all hungry? Let's go have some pizza. I'll buy it. I want to get started. So that's my announcement. I'm buying the pizza.
All right. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Speaker Pro Tempore Magnani.
I move we adjourn the meeting to next week, same time, same place.
Yep. Is there an announcement? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
If that's.
Yep. No need to come to the front.
Okay.
Yeah, just come from there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Where do I go? Do I stand? Okay. Just want to let you guys know, my name is Roger Padilla. Along with being on the judicial branch, I serve as public relations officer for Indian Student Association. We're having our big event called Sanskriti. Sanskriti means culture. On Saturday here in the Union, it starts at 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock is our cultural exhibition where we'll have dance workshops, we'll have free food, we'll have like free henna done for any of you like that. And then from 1 to 4, we have our function. We have, DPC was gracious enough to fund us well over $7,000. So we have, what? Yeah, I appreciate it. So we have like a world acclaimed sarod player who's like, that's a specific type of Indian instrument. We have dancers competitive dance team coming from University of Kansas. We have classical dancers coming from St. Louis. We have another former classical dancer coming from New York. If you want to come for the entire thing or just 10 minutes, we'd really appreciate it. It's a free event for everyone, and I hope to see all. Yes?
Time again?
Okay, so it's on Saturday. It's the culture exhibition starts at 11 and ends at 1, and then immediately following that in the Forum Hall is when we have our classical performances. And are there any other questions? Yes.
Where is it at?
Here in the Union courthouse or courtyard is where the cultural exhibition is, and the Forum Hall, which is right next to it, is where our function is. Are there any other questions? All right. I hope to see everyone.
Are there any further announcements? If not, make sure you email me your notes, come to the front. Is there a second to Tendai's motion?
Second.
If there are no objections, the meeting will be adjourned. Thanks for coming tonight, everybody.
Are you not doing roll call? Jonathan, are you going to do roll call? No roll call. I didn't even know I got it.
It's already taken off. We started. We need to have to get right now. Next Wednesday we are going to that festival. That's what I've said.
But I believe
maybe have
something. Investigative committee. I was.